So, President Donald Trump's big beautiful bill, otherwise known as his big major tax bill, some people are even calling it a stimulus bill, depending on who you want to ask. But when it comes to President Donald Trump's big beautiful bill, and just a very quick recap if you're not familiar with what's going on is, essentially this is the bill that has to do with, that we've talked about on this channel already, that has to deal with things such as like no tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, no tax on Social Security, and also just a lot of different tax rules that he's trying to change, including the extension of a lot of the tax policies that are currently set to expire by the very end of this year. Well, the big update to share is that this bill right now currently is sitting inside of the Senate, where there's just a lot of things that are going on and potentially going to be revised about this bill. So the big idea is that in today's video, what I really want to talk about is pretty much just giving you guys a brand new update to what's been going on with this bill, the current status, where it currently stands, if it's going to potentially be changed in any way, so potentially if there's going to be any revisions to it, and maybe ending this by some personal thoughts that about whether or not I believe this bill is going to potentially be able to actually gain its approval in its entirety. And I think that's probably going to be the most important thing, because we have to see whether or not it can physically go through and what's going to happen from there. Obviously, because it's an opinion, because we are talking about the future, and the future obviously has not happened yet, this is going to be a little bit opinionated, the last section about it. But hopefully, because of that reason, it's going to make this video a little bit more unique. So even if you've seen another video about this, hopefully there's still something original to get out of this video. So with that being said, let's just get right to this video. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, a very huge heads up though is that inside of today's video, we are not going to be talking fully. We're going to be referencing some things, but we're not going to be focusing on talking about what's inside of this bill, because there was already a video that I made talking about detailing what's actually physically inside. So the idea really is that if that is something of interest, I'm going to put a video at the end screen so you can watch after this video that will detail much greater explanation to what's physically inside. But with that being said, again, let's just get right to this. But as always, before we begin, like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to hit the bell if you guys are interested in getting more updates as they come out. And let's get started. So when it comes to maybe talking a little bit about where we currently stand with this bill, is that essentially this bill, as of the time of the making of this video, has already officially been approved inside of the House, like we just mentioned in one of the last updates, which again, it's going to be at the very end screen so you can watch after this update. But the idea really is that it's currently sitting inside of the Senate, where there have been a lot of Senate Republicans that have now started to come out to speak about potentially trying to make revisions to this bill. So the bill currently at this time period, there's a lot of talks about making revisions. There is no physical bill that has been revised yet, but there's just a lot of talks about things that they want to physically change or potentially have happen related to this bill. So what are some examples of this is that, for example, is that currently at the time of the making of this video, there are a lot of people that do absolutely agree with doing things such as like the no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime pay. But one of the very big changes that they're really trying to make is that they want to potentially change up the requirements and also the text and the wording of what it means to be on Social Security, what it means to have a tax on tips, what it means to have overtime pay. The idea really is that, especially for the part about no tax on overtime pay, is that they simply put is that they just don't want people to potentially abuse it. And because of that reason, the revision that they're really looking for is to basically make it more strict and to make it so that the things that the rules and the policies that are inside of the bill, the text itself is much more clearly defined for what it means to be on those things that we've just officially mentioned. The other big thing that's going on is that they also want to potentially lower the income ceiling needed to be able to get a lot of these things done. Another big change I do believe that they're trying to make right now is that there's a lot of talks that they want to extend the tax policies that Donald Trump already approved that's set to expire by the end of this year. They want to extend this even further into 2029 so that things can go on even longer. So these are just a couple changes that they're really trying to make right now as of right now when it comes to trying to implement Donald Trump's big beautiful bill and all of the tax policies that are currently inside. The big idea behind this is that right now at this time, they just want to make a lot of policies to deal with America's fiscal situation and potentially try to just spend less money, but also figure out if they are going to be cutting taxes, where they're going to actually get money to potentially make up for the fact that there's going to be a lot less taxes to collect among this country. Now, in terms of where we currently stand in terms of these changes, is that just like we've mentioned, is that there are a lot of changes that they want to potentially make. They don't know if they can potentially get it actually physically through, but that's the goal of what they're trying to do right now. In terms of some timeline or dates that you probably that are probably really important to know is that the goal right now, and again it's really important I think to set a deadline of some kind so that they can kind of get things moving and through, is that they're really trying to approve it inside of Congress, so inside of both the House and the Senate by July 4th. But even better is that if they can potentially try to approve it by the very end of this year so that it can now sit in President Donald Trump's desk to gain its entire approval and its completeness. And I think that's the really big goal that they're really trying to have right now at this time. Now, moving on to maybe talking about what are some of the opinions that other people have been expressing, is that we have to talk first a little bit about Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is probably one of the major figures that have come out to really speak about his opinions about this bill. And currently at the time of the making of this video so far, and the reason why I think it's really important to say this is because there's been so many changes where sometimes we'll have a politician that voices in support of something, sometimes they're going to change their mind and maybe even apologize, and then say that, oh, you know, they're actually now against a particular something. But Elon Musk, at the time of the making of this video currently, is actually against this bill. He actually opposes a lot of the policies that are currently inside. And I think it's really important to understand is that you have to keep in mind that Elon Musk is, as most of us know, is that he's one of the richest people in the entire country, if not basically the richest person in this entire country. I believe his net worth currently sits at over $100 billion, which is crazy because we all know that Donald Trump is rich, but I'm pretty sure Donald Trump's net worth is basically right around a couple billion. So, you know, for Elon Musk, his net worth is over $100 billion with a B, which is really crazy to really absorb. Now, the other part about this bill that I think that not a lot of people are talking about right now that I think is really important to mention is that there was a tax policy, and if you've been following this channel you might know about it. If you guys are brand new here, hopefully if you guys are still finding this insightful, maybe consider subscribing and hitting the bell. But the idea is that there was a tax policy that was supposed to encourage people to buy electric vehicles. Well, the idea is that, as you guys know, is that Elon Musk, being the founder and CEO of Tesla, he has everything to do with electric vehicles. So the idea behind this one is that there is a policy right now inside of the bill to potentially get rid of this specific policy that encourages people to buy electric vehicles. As the CEO and founder of an electric vehicle company, he's obviously going to be against it. And I think that's probably one of the big things to really take away. Now, moving on to maybe now talking about the side that I don't think a lot of people are going to be talking about, or certainly it's the side that's going to be a little bit opinionated but is important to express, is about whether or not I believe this bill will be approved. Now, if I had to give my personal prediction, again, this is just a prediction, nobody knows the future, I actually do believe that this bill, or certainly some variation of this bill, will be approved. And the reason why is because at the very end of the day, although it is true that it was approved inside of the House by basically one vote, as most of you guys may or may not know from the last update, which again is going to be at the end screen so you can watch it after this video. The idea really behind it is that at the very end of the day, both the Senate and the House is still dominantly Republican. And for the sake of just both image, political related reasons, and just trying to show that, you know, they did something during their time, it is very probable to think that beyond the political games that they are playing, they're going to be doing what they can to get this bill through. And because it's dominantly Republican, and because most of the people that do support this bill happen to be Republican, I think it's very fair to say is that the probability is, I don't want to say super high, but it's there's a greater probability that it will approve than that it will not approve. With that being said, I think it's very also important to notice is that because there are revisions right now that are currently being proposed, it is possible that what might, keyword is might, happen is that they might potentially try to make a revision to this bill, and then that new bill, so the revised version of that bill, is going to be what physically goes through, related to, like, again, going back, like making the rules more strict, making things more defined, the physical text of what it means to have overtime paid tips, and all that stuff. So that's the really big important thing to really be able to express. Now, I think the last thing that I really want to talk about as a quick insert is really about how this is going to impact the job market. So this is a really important topic because I know there's a lot of people right now that are either looking for work or that are not necessarily looking for work, but are trying to at least upgrade their career and try to take it to the next level. Well, the story behind this one is that one thing that is relatively nice about this bill is that this bill is meant to help support a lot of large businesses and corporations. And you might be wondering why this is good, is that because at the very end of the day, while there's a lot of obviously controversial opinions, some want to support the rich, some do not want to support the rich, some believe in trying to tax them greater, a lot of the policies inside of this bill are meant to support big businesses, such as like reducing taxes for them, trying to take away taxes just in general for a lot of people. And so because if they are able to run through all of this stuff, it will support a lot of big businesses to continue running. And if big businesses are more successful, it means that potentially more hiring can happen. So that is really the big thing that's really important to take away, especially right now, because we all know from so many past videos that I've already talked about on this channel how rough the job market currently is. And I'm not even speaking from an article, I'm even speaking from personal experience because I don't do YouTube full time. I have a job outside of this, so as someone that is actually physically in the labor market, hopefully this will make this video relatively relatable. But of course, what ultimately ends up happening, we just have to see in one of the future updates of the Kevin's Journal Show. So with that being said, if you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, like, comment, subscribe, feel free to hit the bell if you guys want to get updates about this, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.